good sci-fi example, Avatar by James Cameron, 2009. Most of you have probably seen it because it was, until Endgame came out, the highest grossing film of all time. The reason why I've chosen this one is because it does actually address disability, which is very rare for a sci-fi and fantasy story, because Jake Sully is clearly disabled. He's in a wheelchair. He's in there because he was wounded from the war. When he arrives on Pandora, he's set on a mission by the Colonel to go and learn the ways of the Na'vi, to go and claim his legs back, as the Colonel put it.
You get me what I need, I'll see to it you get your legs back when you rotate home. Your real legs.
So Jake's left disabled and he is already in a wheelchair. This is where the use of technology in science fiction is the distinction between disabled and able-bodied, because he goes from disabled as Jake as the human to the able-bodied as Jake the Na'vi. He enters this whole new world which he's trying to come off as convincing as possible to make it seem like it's one of them. So he has a sense of new identity, particularly when he goes out for that run for the first time. He walks out the lab after he's been transformed from a human to a Na'vi. He goes out for a run and he looks down at his legs and he's like, oh my gosh. He feels strange that he's going from sitting in a wheelchair to running on his legs again, something that he didn't ever get back again. And gradually he gains that preference of wanting to be a Na'vi and gain his legs back. I think the film's use of motion capture is good as well, because again it's like a skill, because they're wearing all the suit and wearing all of that stuff, but particularly from Jake's point of view, he's got to look convincing enough as that Na'vi character rather than as the previous disabled human. It's really interesting how he does distinguish that kind of performance based on him as a human and him as a Na'vi when it's actually the same person. I think with Jake as well, it's quite good because his identity does change, but it doesn't change. His body changes, his identity, but as an individual with a personality stays the same. But he learns more, it changes his perception on things, it just changed his understanding of the world. It's like a lot of people who go through different things in their life. It opens their eyes almost. I think it's interesting because science fiction and fantasy are probably the most escapist forms of cinema, and because of that, it kind of distracts from the use of what kind of things you might notice about a certain social group. You might notice race or you might notice gender, but you might not notice disability, or at least the metaphors of it. So I think that's what's really quite ingenious about the escapist perspective of science fiction and fantasy cinema, but also the way that it represents disability in that kind of way, which I think is really, really important. So Avatar, most of you have seen it. If you haven't, watch it. It's brilliant.